Saturday.
It is.
Another episode of The Drive.
Episode 14. All right.
Can you guys believe we're 14 episodes in? How cool is that?
So I just couldn't figure out why it wasn't going forward.
You didn't have it in drive?
I had it in reverse.
Oh, that's even better. Even better.
Woohoo! All right. So we are going to drive around the neighborhood. I don't know if you guys are in Akron. You might have seen the beautiful sky this morning. It was amazing.
It was.
So pretty.
I saw your picture, and then Scott posted a picture too, and it looked amazing.
So
it was
pretty.
Absolutely beautiful. So that's awesome.
Good morning. So we continue our series on emotions.
It's been really good.
Yes. So welcome to The Drive. Welcome. And this is Brenda Colter.
Yes, and this is Kat Hoyer.
And we are
SYLC Consulting.
We didn't practice that one. We probably
We
should have said
did. It
something
was
about that.
pretty good.
So I'm not sure where we're gonna go. I'm just gonna kind of drive around the neighborhood.
Cool.
All right.
Because the sun is still really pretty. It's still, I don't know.
Along
The
with
sky's
us.
really pretty. It's the fall.
Yeah.
So
it is so pretty, and even something's happening where the leaves in my yard are blowing over into the neighbor's yard.
cool. No.
I know. I'm like, oh, thank you, leaves. Thank you, wind.
That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Not so good for the neighbor.
No. Maybe I'll help.
So, hang on. Let me make sure I can monitor the comments here. So, yeah. How were you feeling after last week's episode? Last week we talked about anxiety and disappointment.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was interesting is as we got talking more about it, I realized there were many more layers than what I initially thought that there were.
Right.
With that, and definitely, I'm at a different place in my healing journey, if you will, or it's healing journey, I guess.
Right.
So, where I felt about certain things, or what I felt about certain things, I realized that other people may not, or they may have had experiences that make them feel different ways. So, this is definitely not a one-size-fits-all.
Oh, gosh.
And that's why I love the comments that come in and help us kind of look at different perspectives, and just our conversations help us look at different perspectives.
I think that's what I got from it, too. Like, when we talk about this topic of emotions, it's kind of different. Like you said, it's not one size fits all. It'll be different for everyone. So that's kind of cool to realize that.
Yeah. So this week, these are really interesting emotions that we're going to be talking about.
Yes. So
Did we put them in the comments? I didn't see what you.
Yes.
Okay.
So this week we're talking about resentment and bitterness. And to start, I have to tell you, like on the way here, I didn't realize how impacted my life has been by these two emotions.
Really?
And I got really emotional. So
Ooh.
I don't know if I'm going to get emotional today, but it was a good emotional because I'm like, wow, to come from that.
You've overcome it.
Yes. So I was like crying, like, thank you, Jesus. It was like one of those coming to Jesus moments.
That's awesome.
It was
And
awesome.
what's interesting for me is I've been thinking about it. I'm like, I am holding some resentments in a couple places.
Really?
And
so still holding on currently, or
they're fairly recent things.
Okay.
So I'm realizing that it's some stuff that I need to work through. So I've worked through a lot of major resentment, bitterness that I felt. I've definitely worked through some really big stuff, but I had some things happen in my life recently where I'm like, oh, this is a new situation and I need to work through it. And it's good to know that, I think for me to go, okay, I am holding this resentment and it's causing me to behave this way or put up certain boundaries that maybe I wouldn't had this person not hurt me in the way they had, or you know what I mean? Or maybe I shouldn't say hurt. I'm funny about this person hurt me. I allow myself to be hurt.
Oh, that's
I didn't.
right.
The actions were
hurtful.
Such that, well, if I don't have any expectations, right, I can't be hurt. So I have certain expectations.
Honey, listen.
Right. So I have an expectation of this person,
Right.
And we talk about that. Like,
Was your expectation out of line with what they've shown you, or did they show you something and you expect it based on what they show you, and then they messed
that
up?
one? Yeah. So I mean, it was.
So I don't know.
It's
I think
a reasonable. It is a reasonable expectation,
Right.
And, this is someone that I love dearly and want to have a great relationship with, so I need to let that resentment go.
That is very true.
But it's going to take some time, and I'm going to have to steer it and process it and do all of that. So
I think that's important too, though. Oftentimes, like, we feel away and it's like, oh, I shouldn't feel like this. Okay, so that's it. We're going to be the best of friends again. And understanding that it takes time to work through these types of things, and maybe letting that person know, like, I really realize that I'm struggling in this area. So, I mean, I do love you. I'm just trying to figure out how we can continue this relationship after whatever it was.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, so resentment, we specifically have what that's trying to tell you, because that's
Right.
what we're doing on this series is, what is the lesson that you can learn from that emotion? Really, that's a big part of emotional intelligence, is
Right.
being able to decipher what you're feeling, what the emotions are, and act in a way.
We probably should do the definition before every show. I just thought about that.
Oh,
Remember last time we read the definition
yeah.
of emotional intelligence? I can go to it.
Okay.
So emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's emotions, and to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetically.
So, can we break that down a little bit, and just, I'm going to talk about my situation a little bit without going into detail, because I don't want to,
So this is kind of what we did last week. We talked about being aware of. So you're aware of it.
I'm aware of the emotion.
You're aware of the emotion.
I'm aware of the resentment that I have that is causing some bitterness.
So right now we're talking about resentment. So resentment is, you want to give that definition so that then we can go into...
Yeah, so resentment is when you are focused on the past and not allowing the present to be exactly what it is right then and there.
Right. So...
Or at least that's what it's trying to tell us. I mean, bitterness is... probably could be described other ways too, but that's that's what I think the emotion is trying to tell us.
Right. So you're aware of it and controlling it. So the next one is to control.
So controlling it, for me, I know, like you mentioned, maybe having a conversation with the person, which has been done, and then from this point forward, it's me quietly working through it and not allowing those to affect the relationship moving forward, or trying to just accept it as it is. Trying to accept that relationship just as it is.
So now you're going back. Now it's to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and empathetic.
Yeah.
So you're moving into that judicious and empathetic mode.
So it's that empathetic part that I think can cause that resentment.
Woo!
Because if I'm not empathetic to why the person behaved the way they did, or said the things they said, or because at the end of the day, one of my favorite, my top 100 anyway quotes is
top 100 quotes. That's hilarious.
Is hurt people. So once I get to a place of acceptance, I'll understand that this person is hurting in some way, and that's why they have the actions that are hurting other people. I
really struggle with that.
Hurt people.
I do. I don't struggle with it as a fact. I struggle with it as an excuse. I think sometimes people go into, well, I've been hurt, so do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to challenge you a little bit on the video that you put out yesterday. It's very similar to that, right?
Maybe.
I like it when Brenda says, because then she's thinking. I got her thinking.
This is cool. Charles has to do again, and then sentiment to feel. So resentment. So resentment is to continue to feel something something that has happened in the past that's bothering me. So it's that resentment. I like that.
Wow. Like to re-feel that sentiment.
Woo.
And that's what it is.
You gotta come through, Charles.
So it is that feeling that over and over again. And it is, and I know that, with where I am. Now, also talking about where I've worked through other things, and I'll be super open about, was with my ex-husband, working through some resentments that I had toward him, and getting to a place of total acceptance and actual gratitude at this point. It's moved into gratitude, where I'm like, and I'm not saying anything bad about him or anything like that, but I'm grateful now that the situation happened the way it did. I learned so much, and I'm able to pull the lesson from it. So
I think that is how I was able to conquer my resentment. Like the same situation with my ex-husband, it was kind of like like you said, I learned so much. Like, even when we talked last week about what do I think that being in that relationship, especially as it pertained to the domestic violence aspect, again, I had to learn that this is not love. This is not what love should look like, because I had no guideposts for what love was up until that point.
Right.
So the best way to teach me, because I'm a little hard-headed, what love is by showing me what it isn't. So that's what that relationship taught me. So that cleared that resentment from me, because I was like,
yeah,
okay, I could see that, and I know that was gonna be really inappropriate. Like, maybe I need to be knocked upside the head to be.
Oh yeah, don't say that.
I get a little inappropriate, but I mean, sometimes
literally and figuratively. No, Kat, don't go there more. Why did I keep going there?
You went that extra step.
I did. Dang it.
You gave me the bring it down look, and then you went like another further, like that.
That's awesome.
Charles said, and well, people don't hurt others, definitely not on purpose. That is very true. But like, that's the thing, like, to get well is working through all of these things.
This is what we just were saying, the healing journey.
Right.
You know, it's really about healing, and we're all healing from something. You know, my favorite thing that my therapist said to me, you know, years ago was that we're all something about Trevor was little, and she said, you need to start saving now for all the ways you're gonna screw him up. And at first I was like super offended by it, but then I was like, oh yeah, well, if you go back to the first show, wasn't that the spoiler alert that we're all screwed up?
That is very true.
We just are
in our own different ways. And again, not to make an excuse for it, but Dr. Phil says you can't change what you don't acknowledge. Like, you have to acknowledge it to be able to work through it, and then implement whatever change it is that you need to make in order to feel better. So I think resentment, like, it was almost the guidepost for my behavior, like, early on in life.
Okay.
Like, and it was mostly for like things that occurred in my childhood. So I had a lot of resentment for lots of people as it pertained to my childhood. So getting over that was actually my first step to healing. Yeah. The resentment.
So can I ask, like, what you were kind of thinking about this morning that got you, not to get you all teary-eyed. I'm
trying not to get emotional.
Watching and trying not to look too much because I gotta drive, but you know. Oh, it's okay. This might be a first. Not a first for you, but first for all of them to see this.
I don't know. Just not only did I get over the resentment, but ultimately I was able to build really great relationships with the people that I held resentment toward. And I was so angry. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I was just really, really angry. It was all a result of the anger and the bitterness that I had. And to know that we were going to talk about this today, and I'm like, that's really gone. Like, you know that, like, I don't feel, but I'm like, no, I really don't feel that anymore. And like, I genuinely love these people, and when I see them, there's not I remember that time. Like, there is nothing. It's almost as if it didn't happen. There's that much healing from it. But there is still the residual lessons that I learned from it to ensure that it doesn't happen again. So it's like, we always say, if I could do it all over again, knowing what I know now, and it's like, I can do it all over again, and now I know. So we have much better relationships. So I don't know. That was it.
Yeah, no, I think that's really good. And I think, you know, we've both been talking about how we're really noticing some growth that we've had.
Oh, yeah.
And how how it's affecting in a positive way our relationships. And it's pretty cool to watch that and know that the work that we've personally put into it is, you know, definitely paying off. I mean, you feel it in the kind of day-to-day piece that you have, where you're not feeling all negatively emotional. I was like, I just can only make a face. But yeah, I think it's, you know, we're seeing that this stuff works.
It really does. Woo! So that was resentment.
And then we touched a little bit then on bitterness too, because you said you felt some bitterness toward that.
I felt bitterness towards everybody. I was angry at the world. Do you know what I'm saying? You ever, like, just have experiences, and it feels like experience after experience, and it's that we did find, it says bitterness is the need to heal What does that say?
Holding judgment for yourself and others. Sorry,
Okay.
I was writing it like, yeah, my handwriting's not the neatest anyway.
It's usually
and
pretty
then,
good, so bitterness is something that you actually need, is a sign. It's telling you that you need to heal from something, and that you're holding judgment for yourself or for others. And that's exactly what it was. Like, there's a quote. I'm going into cat mode. There's a quote, and I can't remember who said it, and I can't remember the exact quote.
So we're paraphrasing.
Right. But they said something like,
paraphrasing.
Children grow up loving their parents, then they learn to judge them, and ultimately they forgive them, or something like that.
Oh.
So for me,
my therapist said that. No, she didn't. But kind of. That's kind of what that was her sentiment of it.
And that, for me, if I'm honest, a lot of it had to do with my parents, not because they were horrible people, but because of my perception of what I thought parenting should be, and where I thought there was lack. Now that I am a parent, I'm like, sheesh, like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's when the forgiveness starts, is when we have our own kids.
Right.
And then we're like,
the thing you did, I see that.
And we're like, oh yeah, they're humans. They're humans that are just trying to figure it out too. That, I think, was one of the biggest ahas for me, was realizing my parents were just people.
Like, right, because they're like superheroes to us. Like, they're these, I don't know, these beings. Like, they're great and wonderful and fantastic. And then they do something and you're like, I wasn't great or wonderful or fantastic. And there is that judgment. Like, when I have my kids, I remember saying that when I was little. When I have my kids, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make them go to bed at 8 o'clock.
You know who the best parents are? People without kids.
Right.
Well, when I have kids, and then you're like, oh, yeah, all that stuff I said, sorry.
Right. So there was it was definitely judgment that created that bitterness for me specifically. And then, like you said, once you kind of analyze it, like you said, they're just people. You consider their experiences. Scott said, set the baggage down and move on. Yes, honey.
Yeah, that's really what it's all about. I love that, because it's, you know, we said this a lot yesterday in the workshop that we did. Easier said than done. And the more you do it, the easier it gets.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because now it's very easy for me to go into that mode of being empathetic and going, I'm sure I've had some less than stellar moments. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe even in these same situations. Or I specifically kind of think about something like, okay, let me think of a time where maybe so it's very easy for me to be a little bit more understanding. So bitterness is not really a problem for me anymore.
Yeah, so this situation that I'm talking about, bitterness is a little bit of it. To me, these kind of go hand in hand, because I need to heal over the way that, I feel there was a bit of an injustice, and that I am holding some judgment. Like, in my head, I'm thinking this person should not have done this.
Ooh.
I'm shooting on them.
You're shooting all over them.
I am. And I'm working through it. So I'm okay with working through it, and I know I'll come on the other, I'll get to the other side, because again, this is a relationship that's very important for me to get to the other side.
Right.
So I will. And
that's an awesome determination, first of all, just to understand, like, this is just a moment in time.
Yes.
Like, this is a moment, and
so
we'll
back to our boundaries. This is one of those relationships that I definitely want to salvage. So the boundaries are more with myself. I don't want to say things I don't mean. I don't want to behave in a way that I, could damage the relationship further, all of that kind of stuff. So I've set some boundaries for myself,
right,
on what I say, and
and that's good, because I think resentment and bitterness are definitely some of those emotions that will eat you from the inside out. Like, it's that whole not forgiving somebody is like drinking poison and waiting for them to die. Yeah. I think resentment and bitterness are poison, and if they sit in your spirit for too long, they begin to eat away at you and kind of eat away at your soul. So I think it's important to clear them out. That is a very true statement. I really think, because I've seen people that have hung on to bitterness, and what it does to them. That person's coming really fast. Right. You said they did what?
Oh, they just were coming up really fast behind me. But the resentment, the bitterness, there was something. Oh, no, I was going to say what you said about, I think a lot of it starts when we start to really examine where some of this stuff is. Woo. Let's see if that doesn't really help much. Driving into the sun for a little bit. But the healing, I think, starts with forgiving ourselves, and that's what makes it so much easier than...
Do you mean forgiving ourselves for judging or for
Well,
even
that's what I was going to
person?
say, because on this one, I'm going to have to, like, to forgive myself. I'm going to need to forgive myself for judgment, and for, you know, wishing the situation was different than what it is. And that's not like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
you know, that isn't like a hard process.
Right.
Because I understand it's human nature, and, you know, my brain just saying, I want to protect you from this person ever hurting you again, so let's hang on to this resentment so you can push them away so they can never hurt you again.
Right.
Well, that's not what I want to do. So,
Oh, Amy.
but yeah, yeah. So I think that, but I think many times when it comes to hanging on to resentment and, well, any type of harsh feelings towards someone else, when you give yourself grace, it's easier to start to give other people grace.
Absolutely, because like we talked a little bit about it in the workshop the other day. Is this something, or maybe it might not be that specific thing, but that's kind of where I was going when I was saying, I kind of think about times where I have behaved in a way or done something that may not have been appropriate or less than stellar behavior, and it's like I definitely would have wanted to be forgiven. Like, what can I now? I do think that there's something to be said about people who do the same thing over and over again.
Right,
like, I mean, at some point it's like, okay, this is becoming a little bit toxic. But in an instance to where it was a one-off or maybe even a two-off, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just depending on the nature of the relationship. I think that's something to be considered as well. Like, you kind of have to go, is this resentment, is this bitterness, or is this just intelligent navigating of my emotions and keeping this person at bay?
Yeah,
So
and navigating that relationship and how
Right?
that relationship,
Goes
how
back
you
to
manage
boundaries
it,
again.
does.
Goes
These
back to
all
boundaries.
kind of tie together.
That is true.
They all do. But it's, you know, I mean, that's really, at the end of the day, we're teaching this emotional intelligence, so it makes sense that it all intersects.
Right.
It all, and it helps with stress levels, and, you know, stress
That is very true. I can say that, like, since all of this, since creating the programs, since actually implementing the process, I definitely
doing the work.
Yes,
It's doing the work.
Yes.
And it's not always easy, and it's not always talking through like this. Sometimes it's really, I remember before I got started through in all of this stuff, like the idea of sitting and thinking seemed so foreign to me. Like processing.
I think it was scary for me.
Oh yeah.
Like wondering what was going to come up. It's so easy to not think about the difficult things and just go on with our lives, not realizing there's still a part of our brains working on it, and that in and of itself can be toxic. Not thinking through things.
Or keep replaying the same negative stuff over and over again, which is what I was doing early on, you know, when I was going through the divorce. Oh my goodness, I would just replay that. Those things, you know, different
that kind
scenarios.
of fed your resentment and your bitterness. That would
kept
feed
it going. And that was a big lesson for me. I love talking about lessons I didn't mean to learn, and one of them was I had a roommate at the time, and I was dating someone, and the roommate moved out, and I stopped dating this person, and I stopped talking about all the stuff that was happening at work. So I'd come home at night and be like, and this person did this, and this person did that, and blah, 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 blah. Well, I stopped, So I stopped doing that, and I would go back into work, and actually, someone was talking to me about, they were venting to me, and I use venting purposely in quotations because I think venting
more
can
like
be
gossiping.
right. But she was saying, I went home and I told my husband about it, and I came back in, and now I'm da-da-da. And I'm like, she's keeping that energy super active. And for me, when I stopped talking about it in the evenings, I was able to let it go and start to heal. It's like, this is really gross. Not spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
Whatever. What's it called? Like
disclaimer.
Disclaimer.
This is gonna get gross.
But if you have a sore and you don't leave it alone, it can't heal.
Right.
And that's what this was. This was
like a festering wound.
Yeah, I know. Gross.
She kept thinking at it.
You had to take it a little further.
Oh.
No, stop. Ew. We're done.
Sorry. So Jim said, what's an emotionally intelligent way to communicate to the person driving behind you that they need to stop tailgating you? Seriously, they're a little too close at times. Scott said brake check. Do not brake check. That's bad advice. Scott,
you know what? So this might be a good topic for us at some point. We have so many of them, but one of them would be road rage. I don't have road rage.
You don't?
No.
Do you know that that's the only time that all of this, I don't even know if I can say this on here, that's the time where all of this emotionally intelligent crap goes all out of the window. No, and I'm like,
we've talked about that before.
Why would you do that? You're such an idiot. I'm a complete fool on the road. It's not healthy.
No,
I will admit that.
I'm always like, oh, no, it's okay. I know. I do that too. Maybe because
I do that too.
Yeah. Like, I know they didn't mean to do it. I know when
How do you know that? Like, if somebody's tailgating you, they're doing it on purpose.
Well, I can choose my thoughts, and it's better and more peaceful for me to choose the thought they didn't mean to do it, or they're in a hurry, or somebody's having a baby in that car, or a heart attack, or something's happening.
So there's your answer, Jim. Make something up about why they're tailgating you.
For real. Like, why not? You're making something up anyway. Why not make up something that makes you feel a little better?
You're not making up something if they're tailgating you. It's just annoying. Like, I don't really care why they're doing it. It's like, go around if you can. And if they can't, maybe I should pull over and let them go. I don't know.
That's what my dad did on the mountains every time, because it would make him anxious if anyone was behind him, because we were doing so much sightseeing. So he'd just pull over. But yeah, for me, I'm like, we're just all people trying to get where we're going. So, some people are a little pushier than others. And I'm like,
no, I'm just kidding. I'll work on it. I guess I'll try to work on it. But I'm telling you, I don't know what happens about in a car. I'm telling you, I can navigate so many other areas of my life like to a T. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe I just worked that out. And I feel great about that. But on the road,
let's work on that.
I don't.
You're not ready? You want to hang on to that resentment and bitterness for drivers? That's okay.
That's
you
exactly
can do that.
what it is.
That's all right.
Oh, my God. Maybe I need to work on that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, or not. I mean, if you're okay with it,
I'm kind of okay with it.
This is why I'm driving.
Because I don't know if that is my release. I don't know. Now you got me. Now I'm going to have to think about my road rage and the source of it. Because it's really bad. And not...
No, I've ridden with you, and I don't feel like... I've not noticed it.
Really?
Yeah, no. But,
That's so funny. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to think about it and come back. Well, Kat helped you on that question, Jim. If anybody can help Jim, besides Scott. Scott, don't help anybody. Don't give anybody.
But
Scott usually has great advice. That wasn't great advice.
Brake check. I have done that in the past when I wasn't so good with my road rage.
Oh, I do it all the time.
But I don't do it like I used to do it angrily, but sometimes I'm like, you're a little close to making me uncomfortable, so I'll do like a little tap on my brakes thing. And usually I feel like they must feel the intention, and they're like, oh, I'm going to back off a little bit. I don't know. Why not? If you make up negative stories, make up positive stories.
I'm going to try. And winter is especially hard for me because people's windows are up and they can't hear you. So then I have to roll down the window and wave so that they can see that I'm cussing them out.
No!
But if in the summer, the windows are down, so you can just scream and they hear you.
Oh my goodness, that's really bumpy right there. Ooh. No, so you actually roll your window. We need to talk about this offline.
I'm telling you, it's really bad.
We'll work on this and come back and tell you what we've done.
We are going to work on it. So Jim said, OMG, it's probably repressed secondary emotions with your road rage a little. It's got to come down to the fact. Kat never lets you drive. She never lets me drive. But you say it's not that bad when I'm in the... Maybe you just never encountered... And it's only like a parent driving... You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, oh, somebody's trying to get in and I won't let them in. Like, I'm a courteous driver, but it's just when people do something that I feel like tailgating or cutting me off or like all of that kind of thing. Oh my God, I lose all religion, honey. It goes way left, right, and everywhere.
I assume they must be something urgent is happening.
Charles said, I love that. We're making up a story anyway. Why not make it a positive story?
So, and you know what? maybe this has an impact on me. I was driving right where we turn in on Dart Street to park. I was driving up Market Street, just past that, and I saw a car coming at me, and I was like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? What is he doing? What is he doing? And he literally crossed over and hit a pole, and I think he was having like a heart attack or something. Because he came right at us. Oh.
Because
you got really quiet.
This is how horrible, because I was trying to decide if I wanted to say what I was thinking. I was going to filter, because I'm like, how do you know he had a heart attack? Maybe he was on drugs or something. Well, that's where my mind
maybe,
went.
but I think he had a heart attack.
Like, you see how, like, more loving yours was? Like, if I would have been like, oh,
so
maybe he's having a heart attack.
Here's the story I'm telling myself. This was a man who gets up and runs every day and eats oatmeal and is very healthy. But he had a heart attack anyway, and he never suspected it.
And you're like, oh, he almost killed us.
Oh, we almost died. We almost all died, but instead just he did.
Oh my God. I'm telling you. I tell a story in my book about a road rage incident, and I'm not this bad anymore, but my anger was so bad. Like, I chased a guy down.
No.
I can't remember what he did, but I chased him down. Like, we were like getting in front of each other and flashing our lights and doing all of that. He pulled over into a bank. I got out of the car. This is a big, huge, tall man. He was like 6 foot, and I'm like, you don't cut me off. I was so angry, and I'm like, how stupid was that? Like, I could have got shot. I could have got, like, I didn't know this man from Adam. That was ridiculous.
Maybe that's why I'm like super, like, I was gonna say maybe I'm afraid, but no, I just think that, I have cut people off. I have, now I don't drive crazy. I don't think I've been accused of driving a little too slow at times, but
too slow. So Candace said my road rage is horrible because people die in cars, and that makes me mad because someone's dumb driving can kill me.
Yeah. I mean, and I've been in an accident.
It's like, we all gotta go sometimes. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm on the brick road. Sorry. No, I was in an accident where it was 100% the guy's fault. Mm-hmm. And
what street is this?
We're on Dartmouth.
Oh.
We're by you, Scott. We're gonna come say hi.
Yes, Charles. I said I didn't remember what he did. I think he cut me off or something. This was years ago. This was a long time ago.
It's a blue jay for us.
Oh.
Gotta
send 3 kisses.
Oh, and another one. There's always 2.
You're supposed to send 3 kisses.
Oh, you are?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about this. I feel like we should have had this discussion before now.
I can't remember why. It's Blue Jays and Cardinals. You gotta send 3 kisses.
I don't. And I feel like I want to Google that, but I think just kind of. Oh, I forgot how I was going to wrap it up. I felt like I was going to circle all this stuff in. No, just when I was in that accident, totaled my car. His car got totaled. I knew it was he was not like, I'm going to pull out and, cause all of this damage. And I won't go into all of it, but here's what was really cool. And, he's like, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, it happens. It was... it was
an accident.
It was an accident.
That's why they don't call it a purpose. That's
right, yeah. And he actually called me about a month later, and he said, I just wanted, and we were like, it happened almost to Indiana. Okay. And that was his hometown, but he called and he said, I just wanted to check in on you and make sure that you and your son and your dog, because the dog was there, but I want to make sure everything was okay and, wonder what happened with your car situation. So I told him, and then I said, what about yours? And he had like a really nice car, and because of the type of insurance, he's like, so I have a minivan. Oh. But it's like an older minivan, and he goes, it's he had a fancy Charger, and he wasn't very old or anything. The car wasn't very old. It was pretty new. And he got a minivan, and he said it has a tape deck in it, like a cassette player. Wow. That's how old it was. And he goes, so my kids and I are we're having a blast going to Goodwill and stuff like that, and finding old cassettes to play together.
Tapes to listen.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. That's a cool way to kind of flip it.
Yeah. So I was like, look, he steered it.
He did. He steered it.
Because he could have been bitter about it. He could have had resentment about it, and he didn't.
Wow.
And he was really nice and checked in and make sure we're, to see how we're doing.
Well, I'll try to be a less stressful driver.
I think the emotionally intelligent thing, well, those aren't relationships.
But that kind of goes out of the window. I got to find out why all of this stuff, like, I can apply it in every area of my life except in the car. So I think it's resentment for the drivers because I'm like, pay attention. And I think it's because I try to be very courteous and pay attention to what's going on around me, because I do fear like car accidents and things like that. Yeah. So I think it's kind of like what Candace saying. It may be more fear than it actually is anger.
Well,
because I'm like, you could kill me doing what you're doing right now.
Anger is fear's bodyguard.
You're right about that. So yeah, I'm gonna work on it. I promise you guys, I'm gonna work on it.
All right. So we'd love to know how you're working on any resentment or bitterness, or how you've overcome some of that stuff. Oh, jeez.
I was not being dramatic. That really just happened. I promise.
It really felt like drama, though.
Oh my God. Okay. So that wraps up today's episode of The Drive. Reach out to us and let us know, like Kat said, if you're holding on to any bitterness and resentment, if this episode was helpful in any way. Let us know if any specific emotions or topics that you want us to cover will be in the series for a little minute, and just kind of let us know what you're thinking and what is the series doing for you.
So I think we have at least 2 or 3 more weeks of it.
I think, I don't know. 2 or 3. Yeah, 2 or 3.
All right.
Alrighty. So we will talk to y'all next week. Same place, same time.